Welcome to Lawn and Disorder, podcast from the suburbs, with your hosts, Karen Morgan and Jim Colleton.
This is Jim Colleton. This is the next episode of Lawn and Disorder, podcast from the suburbs. Today, me and Karen will be discussing kids' sports, everything that has to do with kids' sports. But first of all, I wanted to start with, if you ever want to get a hold of us, you just need to go to our website, lawnanddisorder.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, which is also Lawn and Disorder. And any questions you have, we will answer those questions either on the podcast, or we can get back to you with a private message. And now please help me welcome Karen Morgan here on the podcast.
Glad to be here. So this is one of my favorite topics, by the way. I think you and I both share a lot of hours in the saddle with youth sports in terms of taking our kids. I know my 3 kids are very active and your 3 kids are active. And we know all the good, the bad, and the ugly about youth sports.
We have spent a lot of time and money involving our children into activities.
Yeah. And they're all going to be professional athletes, so the money's coming right back at us.
It's not a dime will be made off any 3 of our children. 6 of our children, I should say. To start this with and I know you were right. You played tennis all growing up and all kinds of other sports.
Yeah, we were active, but I always have to give I played every sport at my high school, but I only had 24 people in my high school class. So,
so everyone made the team.
Yeah, everyone made the team. Everyone won states. We were great.
What division is a 24 class in Georgia?
Well, I went to Athens Academy, which was a very college preparatory school. Our colors were green and white, but they really should have been green and pink because we were a little preppy people, and we were really great.
Now, was it boys and girls?
Oh, boys and girls. Oh, yeah. So I was on the girls team, so it was not co-ed. I mean, the school was co-ed. Yeah.
Co-ed, but yeah.
Yeah.
But that's crazy though that you graduate with 24 kids. Like, I can't even imagine. So what? 12 boys. So literally everyone had to play. Like
no,
basketball.
You had to play every sport. I remember in the spring I played tennis and softball, and sometimes the matches and the games would be on the same day. And one time I literally ran from the tennis court with my softball glove because I was the pitcher. So I would play the first tennis match. They'd have to put me first, and then I would run over to the softball field and play that. And we all thought we were such great athletes because we had no competition. It was wonderful.
That is funny too, is when you're a kid, or even when if you're in your own little world. So if you're playing in a lower league or you're in a smaller high school, you're like, well, I could be the greatest athlete ever. And then you go out and start playing bigger schools. You're like, well, I have no ability at all.
No idea what I'm doing whatsoever. So what did you play in high school? Baseball? Is that right?
Yeah, I played baseball, played hockey. I played football for a couple years. And played just freshman and sophomore year. But you know what? And I love sports, and I played men's league hockey for years after, and played softball for years, and I always enjoyed any kind of competition. And that is the one thing that once it's all over, I think you miss the most is the competition. Like, I love golf. You just can't get fired up to play a game of golf.
It's hard. What I mean? But so the competition now spurs us on as parents. Let's just put our own kids to compete against other people. They're going to compete now. We're going to put them ahead of us and start. So I know we started our kids little. They were very young when mine started. We of course had the requisite T-ball teams, which are just basically kids standing in a field, picking their nose and picking flowers, and and finally some dad yells run, and they run, but they don't know which direction to run in. So it was just horrifying, but also very fun to watch.
Yeah, I think the soccer, which I have to state right off the top, I am not a huge soccer fan. My wife played it in high school, so she had the girls get involved in that when they were very little, and that's just a swarm of kids chasing a ball around. And for me, that was the longest hour of my life in the fall, standing down there trying to act like I cared who won this game that no one was keeping score of.
No, no one cares. Well, you have to act like you care, and you have to pack the right snacks. That's really all there is to it. And I know we both share this, but all of our kids were swimming very young. I know I personally started swimming, when growing up, I swam, but our school didn't have a swim team because we didn't have a pool because we only had 24 people. So
Yeah, no pool was allowed.
yeah, exactly. So when my kids could start swimming, we got them swimming right away. And the swim meets, when they're little, the whistle blows, and then, thankfully they have lanes. They at least know which direction to swim in. Otherwise it would be very short.
Yeah, my girls got involved in swim too, and we joined a little pool down the street here from the house, and it was okay. But the Saturday meets were so long, and here's the thing: is some of the kids were so little, and it's the cutest thing in the world, seeing a little kid jump in the pool. But some of the kids were so little they couldn't swim the whole length of the pool. It's okay, so the coaches or the parents would sit it halfway. But here's what really pissed me off. Some of the kids couldn't even swim halfway of the pool, so they got a noodle. So they were swimming with the noodle.
Man,
And I'm like,
no,
why
no,
are we cheering these kids on? They haven't learned how to swim,
no. I
And I
think
remember
at
like
that
standing there with other parents, like, no one thinks this is crazy.
point, you could. It's just in the Olympics. I get to bring my noodle. It's okay. Come on. Oh no, that's terrible. That's terrible. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
if you can't swim the length of the pool, you might want to wait for the racing part of it. Just wait. Learn how to
Yeah,
swim.
and here's my feeling. If the kid's swimming with the noodle, which was a bunch of kids, and even the little kids, put them all in the pool, boom, one race. Just have them swim to their parents.
Put them in the
Here's
middle
a
of the pool.
medal. You're done for the day. Hit the road. You know what I mean?
Put them in the middle of the pool. Whoever gets to the side first wins.
Yeah.
Did you have when you were growing up at your pool? Did you ever have the greased watermelon contests and the at 4th of July at our neighborhood pool growing up? We had a guy that would put Crisco on a watermelon, and whoever got the watermelon out of the pool won. And then they'd have like a roll of pennies and dimes and quarters, and everybody would like dive to the bottom and get the change. And people are drowning trying to find 4 cents. It's
Yeah,
but
I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if I
they do
ever
that
did.
anymore.
I don't know. There's probably some kid was offended by a greased watermelon, so they had to stop doing that.
No.
Some parent probably complained. But so no, I don't know if I've ever experienced the greased. That must have been
Southern thing. Sorry.
a Georgia thing here.
Y'all
Yeah,
come on, hurry! It's time for the greased watermelon. Y'all come on. All right, so what? So speaking of non-Georgia things, so I know your kids grew up ice skating, or is it
Yeah.
specifically hockey? Did your girls do figure skating too, or just
They
hockey?
did. Yeah, when the girls were little, they did just the figure skating. There was a rink right here. We actually have a pond behind the house, so they were always out skating back there. And so they picked that up, and then my son Joe started skating, and then probably kindergarten he did a learn to skate program, and liked it, and then went from there. But and I don't know if you'd agree with this, Karen. Even when the kids are really little, like the learn to skate or the t-ball or the soccer, you can start to see some of the craziness when people comes out. You know what I mean?
Early.
I remember my oldest girl, she was basketball, so it was probably, I don't know, second, third grade. And we go down to the basketball, and my oldest was never really that into team sports. It wasn't her thing. She ended up really enjoying swimming and kind of ran with the swim team thing. But I remember going down this basketball. She's, like I said, second, third grade. Half of the girls cannot even reach the rim when they shoot the ball. And we play this one team, and they absolutely pound us. It's like 32-2. And I said to one of the dads, I go, there's like 3 or 4 girls in this other team that are just like unbelievable. He's like, oh, yeah. Well, the coach has twins who are really good. So he asked that other guy to be his assistant coach. So his daughter would play. So they had, without even doing a draft, they had the 3 best girls in the second grade,
The second grade.
town league. And I just want to go, what is wrong with the guy? First of all, what's wrong with the guy that goes, I need to win the second grade girls basketball championship? If there's anything I do in my life, you know what I mean? And you're just sitting there watching your kid's team get absolutely pounded by these other team. And you're just sitting in the stands and go, I want to go smack that guy in the head as hard as I can. You know what I mean? But that's when I realized, I said, wow, someone really cares that much about winning that they're going to stack a second grade girls basketball team.
And probably some of those second grade girls could have beat the Athens Academy high school team. They would have been great beating us. So my kids had a very short experience with ice skating. We have a neighborhood rink near our house, and they had the thing. And my three kids are a little closer in age than yours. My kids are 3 kids in 3.5 years. So I signed them all up for this same class. They all sort of would fit in that. And it took me, I think, an hour to get all their skates on their feet, just, in the stands, trying to get them all their skates on. And they had to have a bicycle helmet, to go on the ice. And so I'm sweating. I am trying to get all their skates on. And slowly I get all 3 of them out onto the ice. And all my daughter did was she laid flat on the ice, face down, and licked the ice the whole hour. She just licked it. That's all she did. Lick the ice. And I was like,
someone's got some talent here.
Yeah, I am. I think we're done with skating. I think that was a very short-lived sport for us.
I remember my son when he started taking learn to skate, and the guy, someone recommended the guy to me, and the guy was great. He was really good with kids, and they had like these little walkers that they would use. And instead of milk crates, they had these little walkers, and they push them around. And like I said, it's the cutest thing in the world, seeing these little kids out there skating. But after maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 times on the ice, the coach starts taking the walkers away, and he like puts it out at the blue line, and the kids get to skate up. And then when he feels confident enough, he says, hey, he says to the kids, I think you're all right to skate now. And so, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks in, they take the walker away from my son. And you just standing next to other dads at the glass, and dad's sitting to me, and he's like, wow, your kid's not using the walker anymore. I said, yeah, but you're nervous. You don't want him to fall. I go, yeah, I don't know how this is going to happen. See how it goes. I'm not kidding you. The guy starts banging on the glass to his 5-year-old, like, leave the walker, Johnny, leave the walker. You don't need the walker no more.
You don't need one. He didn't have one.
Yeah, that's it. One kid lost the walker, so he was going to go without it.
Yeah, he doesn't have enough to do. Well, my husband talked to me and our kids into the fact that our family sport was going to be downhill snow skiing, because that's what he kind of did in college. And I grew up in Georgia. We did not have downhill snow skiing at any time of the year. So I didn't know any better. I'm like, sure, that sounds fun. So I think my oldest was 4 when we started going to the ski mountain. And my daughter would have been like, just barely 3. And then my youngest would sit so they started with ski lessons like right away. Again, 18 hours to get all their gear on for them to go down the hill for 15 minutes. But then we eventually got the older 2 into lessons. And my youngest wanted to be in the lessons so bad, but he was not potty trained. So and that was my incentive to potty train that child, was that if you get out of your pull-ups, you can take ski lessons. And so it took us a while. We would, while the other 2 had lessons, he and I would just sit in the car and eat candy. So we ate candy the whole time they had their lessons, and they'd come get back in the car, and then we would drive home, and he would every time vomit in the car, and I didn't care. I'm like, I had to keep him in the car for an hour and a half.
Now, my skiing experience is probably like you said, your skating experience is, we got the kids up there. Erin was a big skier growing up, my wife, so she wanted to take the kids skiing, and same thing. She got the girls at lessons, and I had my son, and after you put all the gear and stuff on, and you pay the this fee and that fee and this and after 3 or 4 times, it's like, I am done. I don't even want to be at this mountain anymore.
I grew up, in Georgia. We did ski a couple of times, like up in North Carolina, and for us that was the mountains in North Carolina. But we would literally ski in jeans, and if you fell, there would just be this large blue ink trail of denim on the snow.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to ski when my kids learned how to ski up here. So it was a learning experience.
I grew up here in New England, and I mean, there was skiing everywhere. I just was always playing hockey in the winter. So it just, and I had a big family too. So we just no one really skied that much. So it wasn't like, and I just was never that into it. So then I just became the dad that would stand at the bottom of the bunny hill and check in with them. You just counting heads as they come down. Is everyone here? Is all three of you here?
Everyone made it. So after our kids, sort of graduate to the next level, I found that sports became a little more intense for the kids, and definitely a lot more intense with the other parents in the school, whether it's school sports or rec league or whatever. The intensity of parents gets ratcheted up at the next level.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from the kids that are, I don't want to say mature, but they excel a little in the early grades, second, third grade. Either they're the fastest or they're the quickest swimmer, or, they pick up the skating, and then all of a sudden something rings in the parents, like, oh, this kid's got natural ability. Let's get crazy. Oh, let's get crazy.
It's gonna happen. Well, and I think that's a big difference in now and versus when we were in school, was that kids start to specialize in one sport earlier than we ever did. I know we played a different sport each season, and as parents, Scott and I have always encouraged our kids to play different sports and not really specialize in one specific sport year round. Mostly because we couldn't afford to fly to Chile for the summer so our kids could snow ski. And there's people that do that. But, we have found as a family, it's just better if everybody has a different sport each season, has fun, enjoys it. But we did. You do find those kids that play one sport. Maybe they play lacrosse year round, so they're going to be the lacrosse player on the team. And our kids never are.
And that's what happens. It's the parents that buy into that. Like I saw it a lot. Definitely with the hockey, it's okay. Well, that was a good season. Even though the kids are only 7. Do you really want to let the summer go by? And like, I would have conversations with Dad, like, you really want to let the summer go by without having him skate? I'm like, well, yeah, we're gonna do Little League, so yeah. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, we might go to the beach,
But other people, they buy into that, like, oh, your kid's gonna be behind if they don't skate. You know what I mean? They don't skate all this time, or they don't, whatever it is, baseball. Oh, you gotta play in a fall league. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, as you see, it goes from middle school. I think middle school is probably the craziest, because that's when everyone still has dreams their kids are going to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, it's just we got to be on this team. And the crazy thing is too, and with all the sports, is kids, take hockey for example. Kid will have a game, and then boom, the parent comes in and says, "Let's go change. We got to go to the next game." You know what I mean? And they may have 3, like the 12-year-old may have 3 games in one day. And you're like, that's not good for anyone. You know what I mean?
No, that kid's never getting bored enough to learn how to play with a stick, which I think is sometimes helpful as well.
He's just going from game to game to game, and and it never. And then I think by the time kids start getting out of middle school and they go to high school, then they start realizing, or even the parents, maybe my kid's not the next superstar.
Yeah, maybe it's not. Well, I find too, just sticking with the middle school tier, and maybe this is a mother thing, but I found that the mothering level at the middle school team sports events was overdone. And every mother had to bring the sliced oranges or the brownies and I'm like, they have literally 5 minutes of a halftime at this middle school lacrosse game. No one needs brownies or chocolate chip cookies. Maybe some Gatorade. Maybe do you have a water bottle you could bring and have the halftime is 5 minutes long. No one needs to have these snacks. But the mothers still at that age group for the kids are still volunteering in the classroom. They haven't let go enough at that level to just let the kids play and not have it be such an organized picnic. I used to lose my mind. I would never sign up for the snacks. I know that all the mothers hated me, but I refused to bring the snacks.
Yeah, I've always been, and I think this is maybe a whole different episode, but the overhydration of all our children. You know what I mean? They have just grown up and they have been just drilled into their little heads. You need to have a water bottle with you at all times.
Well, I
know it's 42 degrees and you're out playing baseball, but you are going to get so dehydrated. You need to have a water bottle and a backup water bottle in your bag. And it's just, I remember I was coaching my son Joe, and it was the kids. I need a water break. You don't need a water break. We've been here for 10 minutes. You don't need a water break. But yeah, it's the snacks and the and it definitely in the middle school and especially with I think the mothers, and I get it too. It's when little Johnny gets knocked down, all of a sudden that woman is out for blood because someone just a little boy. You know what I mean?
So
so I have a good friend of mine. He's a high school hockey coach, and he ended up taking the job at my old high school, and he said, yeah, the first day he's out there and there's 9, both moms and dads standing at the glass. And he said to one of his assistant coaches, he's like, what the hell's going on? He's like, oh, I don't know. I guess they want to watch. And he just went over and he's like, hey, you guys got to get the hell out of here. You can't watch a high school. And like he had to go to the AD, and the AD had to explain to the parents, we can't have you in there watching. It's just, first of all, it's just weird. Go get a life. Do something.
Yeah, what I mean? It is weird. Let your kid in high school particularly, but that was one thing is I'd never understood, and I never would go to the practices like everybody else did, and I felt like a bad mother. But
yeah, could you imagine if we were kids and we saw someone's parent at a practice? You would go, "Oh, something's really wrong. Someone must have died in their family."
Someone that parent is here to tell them that their grandmother just died.
Exactly.
That would be the only reason.
That's the only reason you could see it, or they're there to pick you up and they're pissed at the coach that the practice is still going. You know what I mean? That's
right.
That's the only reason. But yeah, now everyone goes to everything, and here's my other thing that just drives me crazy with the kids in the sports is when other parents talk about another child.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Whether it's the goalie or it's the kid who's pitching, you're like, oh, this kid's killing us. He's killing us. He just keeps throwing that same pitch. Yeah, he's 12. That's why he's killing us.
He's okay. He's got one pitch. Let him have it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think what's interesting, we talked about this earlier, is that the kids start to specialize a little bit in high school. I know my kids, we try to have a sport for each season. So now their skiing was better than their other 2 seasons, but my boys played lacrosse in the spring.
I have neither one of my girls got involved in lacrosse. I've had some friends, daughters who were in it, and they just say it's just an awful sport to watch. But here's the thing too, and I get it, it's all about safety, but I think we definitely, and maybe you can speak to this as a female. Like when my daughter was playing softball, they had to wear these ridiculous cages around their helmets. Like the girl playing third base had to wear one. The girl playing first base had to wear one. And I'm like, and the pitcher had to wear one. Like these cages that covered their face in case the ball came back. And I was saying to the coach, a dad, I go, what's the deal with the kid? I don't know. The softball has a rule like this. And then I drive over to my son's Little League game, and they have these $600 bats, and the ball is flying off the bats like it's on hit a golf club or something. And none of the boys have masks on. I mean, no one would ever think, put a mask on, buddy. No.
Because that's a ball that could kill you. Well, the lacrosse, this is changing a little bit, I understand. But when my daughter was playing lacrosse, she's a freshman in college now, so this is not a long time ago. They did not wear helmets for the girls' lacrosse games. The boys did wear helmets, and the boys wore shoulder pads, and they were almost like a football uniform. They had a lot of gear, but because of the rule is that the girls are not supposed to touch any part of each other. But the ball still goes pretty fast. So the ball can still hit you. So it's almost like, okay, put a helmet on the girls, but then let the girls hit each other. That would solve a lot of problems. It would make it more fun to watch the game. It really
Yeah,
was.
I have heard that the girls lacrosse is my girls with that little pool we joined down the street from the house. They had this big, I don't know, end of summer swim meet, and it's like three or four of the other pool country club deals all come together. And so one year it was at our little pool, and one of the people running said, "Hey, could you just be one of the PA announcers? You announce the swimmers and times and things like that." And at first I said, "Oh, hell no, I don't want to do that." And then my wife said, "Oh, no, you're going to do it. You know, everyone's helping out. We're all doing our things." So it's me and another dad. We're in there. We're reading names, and you got to pay attention. There's a million different races, and this, we say, so and so won, and this and that, and then other dad kept coming over. He's like, "I just want to let you know that on that race 4, my son's time was a record time. If you could just let everyone know it was a record time." So on his third time coming over to correct us on something, I just got on the microphone. I said, "Folks, we just want to let everyone know we have a dad who keeps bothering the timekeepers. We're going to need to get him out of here." I was like, I turned the mic off. I go, "Buddy, you got to get away from me right now."
But you got to let this go. You got to let go.
No one cares. No one cares about a record here.
No one cares. Now I spent a lot of time standing, freezing on ski slopes because all 3 of my kids ski raced, and one raced in college and they all raced in high school. But there was one USSA race I went to. It was very cold. And normally the announcers on the ski races, it's pretty boring. It's like, here's so-and-so, they're from so-and-so school, there's their time. That's kind of it. But I went to one, and this woman was like giving color play-by-play as the kids were coming down. And there was a lot of people falling that day, and she would just go, "Oh man, oof, whew, that hurt, and I thought that was the most entertaining, and they need to do more of that in alpine ski racing. Just be the color commentator. If you could do that in high school sports, I think a lot more people would come to the games.
Yeah, a couple times in one of the little league fields here in our town, they have behind home plate. They have like a setup, where there's usually for the All-Star game or the finals, there's a dad up there, and they have a PA system. But a couple times, kids would either, I don't know if they would push open the door or somehow get in there, and they turn the PA system on. And I thought it was hysterical because like their friend would be up to bat and they're like, "Yeah, here's Bobby. Yeah, he smells bad. He's bad." As a dad sitting out in the stands, I'm like, "That's pretty funny. Let the kid run with it,
Let him go. It's perfect.
There's always some parent that would run up there to shut the PA system off. Here's the toughest thing about high school sports. Now, do you guys have a user fee? Do you pay a user fee?
Yes, we have it. My kids are at public school, but there is a fee per sport, except for alpine skiing, which is higher because
hockey's higher too.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker though. So hockey's higher. When my son did cross country, they literally gave him like a running singlet and shorts that looked like had been here from the early '80s, and it's still the same price. I'm like, wow,
same price.
Someone's making money off the cross country team.
Same price.
Because they're running on dirt and we supply the sneakers, and that's all the sport is. But here's the kicker. So my second daughter plays high school hockey, and she didn't really start skating until, I don't know, 6th, 7th grade. I think she decided to get out of gymnastics and try. And gymnastics is another crazy.
Yes,
absolutely.
It is. Yes.
I always thought hockey parents were the craziest, and then my daughter got involved in gymnastics. I'm like, "Oh, these people are the craziest." And I mean, just money full time. Like, okay, you're 9, you need to commit to this for the rest of your life.
Nadia Comaneci.
Yeah, and here's an honest true story. I was picking my daughter up gymnastics once, and I'm out in the waiting area, and a little girl comes out. Maybe she was 6 years old. She's crying, and so. I'm just sitting in this little waiting area, and this little girl comes out crying, and kind of this awkward, like I'm not her dad. I don't want to go hug her because it'd just be some weird guy hugging, But you're sitting there, you're like,
not to return to gymnastics.
Yeah. This little girl's crying, so it kind of maybe 30 seconds goes by. And then the coach comes out, and I'm like, "Oh, okay, good." She must have got injured and ran away. And so I'm just kind of sitting there putting this all together. The coach kneels down. She starts yelling at this little girl. She's like, "Are you crying in my gym? Are you crying in my gym?" And the girl goes, I'm sorry. She goes, "What did I tell you about crying?" And the little girl goes, "Crying is only for your pillow." She's like, "That's right. Crying is only for your pillow." So then she goes, "Now I want you to come back in that mat and do whatever, do the triple Lindy 4 times in a row." And I was like, I said to my wife, I go, I've never wanted to hit a woman more than I wanted to hit that gymnastics coach. I was like, are you kidding me?
No.
But no one, all the other parents, I'm like looking around. I'm like, I'm the only one that think this is crazy right here.
Well,
you know?
and I think that is the culture that we're in. My husband got us in. He grew up skiing, and it is a family event that we can do together. You know, I learned to ski when they did, and they all raced, and you know, I did kind of enjoy going to their races, and I was the booster mom for that. I will tell you that my booster group was a lot less organized than others, because when you stand outside at a ski race, nobody knows what's in your thermos. I just got to tell you that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. If I'm standing on a ski mountain, I got a pretty big thermos with booze in it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
a big old thermos happening. But you know, we talked about this, that kids sports, whatever level, whether it's, you know, little kids, youth sports, middle school or high school, parents and the other parents that we talk to and deal with are a big part of it. And I think have become more of a part of it, as you said, because now we're all at the games. Many of us are at the practices, some of us are not, but you do interact with parents of different mentalities. And I know I have a lot of friends that do it, and they're normal. I call these the normal parents. And then there's the other parents. And you just have to, my husband does it very well. He just goes to ski races and puts on a hood and literally covers his face. Like they're like, we haven't seen Scott at any of the races. I'm like, nope, he's been at every one.
He's just not talking to you.
Not
and
here.
That's the hardest thing too when you're at like team sports. I saw it more little league, softball, or hockey, or even basketball, when either your kid's on the team that's absolutely getting killed, which is fine, it happens, and you still have parents cheering, you know, yeah, get another goal, yeah, you know, and you're like, really, it's 10-1. I think you guys got this in the bag here. Let's
give us another one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it starts crying. Or I've seen people, you know, a kid goes down on the ice and some parent yells out, "You're not hurt, just get up." You're like, it's not your kid. You can't. No, you have no say if the kid gets up or not. You know.
Yeah, and I think that should be the rule. You're only allowed to talk to your kid unless it's going to be something positive. Then you can talk to every kid, and otherwise you shut your mouth.
Yeah, but no one. But you know, and people just show up and they're miserable from their day job or whatever. So they're like, all right, I'm down here at the Little League field and my kid better strike 4 kids out. Like I remember, you know, Little League, you're right on top of the kids too. There's no glass or they're not underwater like swimming in a pool. And the Little League, it's just, you know, dad's yelling at his kid pitching. He's like, Bobby, you can strike this kid out. He can't touch you. And then you're looking and see the kid bat and he's petrified. He doesn't want to be there. And you're like, yeah, he can strike him out. We all know that. The kid batting knows that too. He doesn't even want to be here. You know what I mean?
He wants to be at piano lessons. Leave the kid alone.
He would rather be playing on his Xbox right now than anything that he's doing. And that's the thing that grinds you. You just want to go to the parent. Hey, buddy, shut the hell up. You know, you don't need to be.
They're 12. No one. And I think we continued this message with our kids. And even though I had a son that participated in sports in college, no one's going to the Olympics. You know, so let's let them have fun. Let them have a good time.
Here's the thing that. One of my biggest pet peeves with high school sports, and I don't know if you agree, every season the kids have to get new clothing, whether it's sweatshirts or jackets or warm-up suits. You know, hey, Dad, I need $85 because we're going to get these new jackets. What happened to the jacket you had last year? And then, you know, when the kids go off to college, all that stuff's just in a closet, never to be touched again.
Yeah, guess what you're going to wear from now on? That's
exactly.
Yeah, every it's all the new swag, and sometimes it's a fundraiser to buy the new swag, and sometimes it's just, you know, it's just another built-in money maker for somebody. I'm like, who's getting the money from this Under Armour jacket that looks exactly like the Under Armour jacket from last year, but the logo is the G is a little bit bigger this time for some reason.
Yeah, the booster parents can be crazy too, because I almost had it out with a woman. My daughter, my oldest Cecilia, was on the track team in the spring, and they had given her, like, I don't know, these raffle tickets you have to sell, and someone said, you know, it's mandatory and nothing is mandatory, you know, with these booster things. Yes. But it's mandatory. Every kid sells 10 raffle tickets for $10, so it's $100 or something. So whatever. See, she lost them, misplaced them. She never collected any money off anyone or whatever. And then this mom, who has nothing to do with the cross-country team, goes over to her and says, hey, listen, you're one of the kids that hasn't turned your tickets in. If you don't turn your tickets in by tomorrow at the meet, you won't be able to run. So now my freshman gets in the car and she's crying. She's like, Dad, I can't run tomorrow because I didn't sell my raffle. I go, well, where are the raffle tickets? She's like, I don't know, I lost them. And I go, and I thought maybe she had collected money but she's like, no, once they gave them to me, I put them in a bag. I don't know where they are now. So I have to go home and email the coach, and he goes, no, that is absolutely not the truth.
Yeah.
We don't care if the kids sell the raffle tickets. That was just but now I want to strangle this mom for making my kid cry. And I'm like, oh.
No, you can't, because I was the head of the boosters for the ski team forever. We had the only thing that's required is that user fee to the school. That's it. If you pay that user fee, everything else is bonus on top of it. They encourage us to fundraise, and when I inherited the booster seat, trust me when I tell you that no one really wants it, but we had a ski swap for years and years and years every year until last year. I did the math on how much the ski swap made and how many hours we put in to put the ski swap on versus, gee, maybe we'll have a comedy fundraiser in one night. And we made twice as much money, and I worked half as hard for half as many days. And I know our booster group for skiing was very different from the hockey group. There's more kids in it. They have to raise more money for their rink time. Each sport is very, very different. So, and we found that too, that the school there's some hierarchy with different sports. Like the basketball team always got a bus. And sometimes the ski team, we didn't get a bus, and we had no control over that.
Yeah, that's in any high school. The AD is going to pick and choose, and we had that problem. So what do you think? We talked about this a little bit yesterday. What's the end game for all of it in terms of our kids and their sports? Because as much as we had sort of back and forth experiences, good and bad, with our kids growing up, I'm really glad we did it. I'm really glad that they were active and they participated. One went on to do it in college. The other two will not, but we'll do probably club teams and that sort of thing. What do you think is the end game for your family? Yeah, you know what? And I was same thing. I would do it all over again with all the craziness, the money spent, and I got two of my kids are still in high school, and one of them is in college. But you know what? With all the craziness with the parents and the travel and the fees and the select A teams and this and that, I told my kids the same thing. Like, I played sports all growing up. I was never really that good. You know what I mean? Like, one coach once said to me, he goes, this kid has to work twice as hard at being average as the rest of you. You know what I mean? But it was just like life lessons. Like, I remember I got cut from a hockey team, maybe fifth grade, and I was crushed. And my father was just like, hey, that's part of life, man. This is what but like as a fifth grader, you don't understand. What do you mean part of life? All my friends are on the team. I'm not. That's crappy. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think that's it. I think the end game is, first of all, it's competitive, and you learn stuff about yourself, how you want to compete, how hard you want to work. And life isn't fair. You're going to get bad calls. You're going to get cut from teams you think you should have made. And that's all going to come out. I think it's going to make you a better person at the end.
It does, all around. I think we, as a family, we learned a lot about, each of my kids had really great ski crash injuries. All three of them. One was after high school. Two were in high school. My daughter broke her tib fib, crashed into a gate. My younger son, ACL, MCL, massive tear after a crash this past January, and my older son, crushed his ankle. So we've all had surgeries. I tore my ACL carrying coats as a parent during the race. Yeah. So I've had my own injuries, but I think it's actually was kind of in a way educational for my kids to say, hey, I had this injury. My youngest is a senior now, and he's still going through PT right now from his ACL replacement surgery. But it's a life lesson. It's like, hey, yeah, I hurt my knee or I broke my leg, and I was able to come back. My daughter broke her leg massively her junior year, but came back to be able to ski her senior year. And, I think that going forward, all three of them having done this now will know, hey, yeah, you do get hurt, and that's okay. As long as you're basically safe and you've got your helmet on, yeah, you might hurt a leg or an arm or, a knee, but you come back. And I think,
and they're going to take that when they go off into life and, when they're going to get a job. And so I think that's, I think that's one of the lessons that the kids all take is that, it's gonna be a lot harder than you think when you go out into the real world and try to make a living and stuff like that. So you're gonna get knocked down and break legs and things like that. And
well, we like to end every episode of Lawn and Disorder podcasts from the suburbs with advice for our listeners. And I think if I could give, for about kids sports, or if your kids are participating in sports, whether they're 5 years old or 15 or they're heading to college, it's just encourage them to participate. I think that's what it's all about. You don't have to be the best, but just get out there and try it. And also don't be afraid to try a sport if you've never done it. Because kids are so specialized so early, I think some kids are afraid to, try playing lacrosse in high school for the first time when all these other kids have played since they were 5. Don't be afraid to try it. And as parents, my advice to parents is, encourage your kids, but don't overshadow. Do whatever it takes to enjoy yourself at the game, whether it is put on earplugs and not listen to parents, or whether it's to fill your thermos appropriately on a ski slope, and make sure as parents to have a good time. And your only job there is to encourage your kid and say, well done. Well done, good job. That is literally all you should be saying at these events. And it'll all make them better people. It really will.
Yeah, I would agree with everything you just said too. And especially, like I said, my oldest, the team sport thing just wasn't really, we tried her in soccer, in basketball, just wasn't her thing. And then she found swimming and she loved it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Me and my wife didn't really know much about swimming. So we're like, give this a shot. She's taken to it. My second daughter is really taken to it. So that was something new for us. And it wasn't just a sport that we had done, me and my wife had done growing up. So and I think sometimes you got to step back and look at the big picture. You know what I mean? Like if you're traveling 4 hours away for a youth sporting event and the youth sporting event is only an hour, you got to realize that's a little silly. You know what I mean? Like if you're remortgaging your house to get your kid new sporting goods equipment, that's a little silly right there. So. Step back and look at the whole picture. Yeah,
and it's okay. It's okay as a parent to say no. I think that you can say no to other parents when they say, "Oh, would you man the snack shack for 12 hours?" No, I'm going to watch my kid play. So sorry.
We're putting a travel team together. Where are we traveling to? Sweden? No,
no. It's okay to say no.
You know where we live.
Well, if anybody has any questions or wants to discuss any more about kids' sports.
Or if you have any stories from your kids' sport, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah. And you can reach us. Our website is lawnanddisorder.com. The email address is just info@lawnanddisorder.com. You can also find us on Facebook. And we will be back with another podcast. I'm Karen Morgan.
And I am Jim Carlton. We thank you for listening and have a great night.
This has been the Lawn and Disorder podcast from the suburbs with Karen Morgan and Jim Carlton. For more information or sponsorship opportunities, go to lawnanddisorder.com. Come visit us again in the suburbs, where you can still be happy, even though you will never again be cool.